Alright, we're going. Alright, sampling project. What do teachers think about their rooms? This is me, Dennis's, and Charles's project for AP Stat 4A. Alright.
So what kind of experiment was this? We performed an observational study because we are simply measuring variables of interest. We're not trying to influence the responses of the teachers, we just surveyed them.
Okay, what kind of sample do we do? The sampling process we performed is a randomized block design. It's a randomized block design because we expect the answers of teachers in each of the buildings to be similar to one another. Groups of similar answers, if not separated, would affect the results in unintended ways. We are also attempting to make claims about specific groups and look at the results of specific groups, thus the need to define groups of subjects to be sampled from. The subjects or rooms within these buildings will be randomly selected using the random integer function of the calculator.
So for our sample size, we chose nine classrooms from each building. We did not have like a mathematical way of determining our sampling size. We just thought 9 would be a good number because the main building, which has the least amount of classrooms, is 15. So we thought 9 would fit that well, so we just applied it to all of the buildings.
How did we perform our randomized assignment of rooms to be surveyed? So we're going to look at an example of the 200 building, and this is the same process that we performed for each of the buildings. So using the calculator and the random integer function under probability, we set the lower bound as 200 and the upper bound as 299 to catch all of the rooms within the 200 building. We asked the calculator for 99 random integers to be generated, and from this list, we compared it to a list of real room numbers in the 200 building and went through the list of the integers on the calculator and found the first 9 that aligned with the real room numbers. And this is how we defined our sample for the 200 building, and repeated this process for each of the 5 blocks that we defined, which are our 5 buildings.
So the questions that we wanted answered through the survey were, well, first we needed to know what building the teacher was in. Then we asked them how satisfied they were with their building or with the location of the classroom in the building, and then with the overall quality of the classroom. And then we asked them if they could change locations, where would they change the location to?
Okay.
So on the right here, this would be the answers we got from the Google Docs. So we took the answers we got from the Google Docs and we made a hard copy of it so we could perform analysis on it. Also, so it would let us perform analysis on each of the strata. It gives us like a more closer look at the data than this would give us.
Alright, so in the following 5 slides, there will be shown frequency graphs of each of the data, or the frequency graph for the data and the 5-number summary for each question. We wanted to do this to show the viewer a visual of the specific responses for each question from each block that we defined. The significance of the 5 summaries will be explained. So an example of the coming slides would be, how satisfied are you with the building the classroom is located in? And then we'll show a graph and our 5-number summary, including the shape of the graph. Note that because our data is qualitative, to find the mean, median, etc., we have to define the responses of very satisfied to very unsatisfied, which are the given responses for each of our questions as 1 to 5, 3 being neutral. This way we could plug the stat into the calculator and it could spit out some numbers for the mean, median, standard deviation, Q1, Q3, which would then be represented by words on a physical graph done in Excel. Because you can't plug qualitative data into a calculator. So here we are. So this is our first block that we defined, the 200 building, and on the left we have how satisfied are you with the building your classroom is located in. This is the frequency table that was created in Microsoft Excel from our responses, and the shape is roughly symmetrical for this one. The mean is 2.8, so the calculator will give us a number. We have to discover what the qualitative response to that number was, and 2.8 was satisfied. The average response was around satisfied or neutral, but fell into satisfied. The median is neutral, 3. Because of 9 responses, there was 4 between very satisfied and satisfied, and 4 in unsatisfied. The standard deviation is 1.3, so the average response falls within 1.3, so within satisfied or unsatisfied and neutral. And our Q1 is 1.5 and our Q3 is 4, which means that 75% of our responses fell between satisfied and unsatisfied. How satisfied are you with the overall quality of your classroom? Our shape is skewed to the right, which means teachers are generally neutral or satisfied with their classroom. There were no responses in unsatisfied and very unsatisfied. The mean is 1.9, which falls between very satisfied and satisfied. The median, which was satisfied, the standard deviation 0.8, Q1 was 1 very satisfied, and Q3 was 2.5 satisfied. So 75% of the responses were between very satisfied and satisfied for the 200 building classroom.
Now this would be the same data just for the 100 building. So first we ask them how they're satisfied with the location they have. And then we see with the mean and the median of 3. And so that would be neutral. Most teachers feel neutral about where they're located. And then standard deviation, you have first quarter and third quarter. This is, yeah. And then we look at how satisfied with the overall quality of the classroom. Since it is the 100 building, the majority will be unsatisfied and very unsatisfied. So you have like a mean of 3.3 and a median of 3, the standard deviation of 1.1. So most teachers in the 100 building are not going to be satisfied with their classroom.
Okay, so this is, you get the point of the process that we're performing on each of the blocks we defined. So we'll just take a look at more of just the graphs instead of talking about the numbers below. So on this graph for the building that the classroom is located in, the main building, most of the teachers were satisfied being in the main building. The graph is skewed to the right, and there was no teachers that were unsatisfied, at least on the first floor, in being in the main building. How satisfied are they with the location of their classroom? It was a little more like towards neutral, but they are still all at least neutral on the location of their classroom and not unsatisfied. Or the quality of their classroom, sorry. And not unsatisfied with the quality of their classroom.
Here we look at the second floor of the main building. Most teachers are going to be satisfied with the location, and the same is true. I mean, both of these are skewed right. Most teachers are also going to be satisfied with the quality of their classroom, which also makes sense, seeing how it is the main building classrooms are the newest. They have been recently renovated, so it makes sense. These responses make sense.
Okay, and for our final block that we defined, the third floor of the main building, we see how satisfied are you with the building your classroom is located in. Again, people are generally satisfied, teachers are generally satisfied with the main building as a whole. So most of the responses were satisfied, very satisfied, or neutral, although most of them were satisfied. How satisfied are you with the quality of your classroom? Here we see a little more, it's still skewed to the right, so teachers are satisfied with the quality of their classroom on the third floor, but it's a little more neutral or unsatisfied, and that's seen in our median being neutral and our Q3 being neutral. So, all right, now we're getting into the entire cumulative graphs of the entire school.
So when we look at the entire school, we can see that the distribution is skewed right, and we see that most teachers are satisfied with where they are located, which, you know, it makes sense.
Standard deviation.
So it has a standard deviation of 1 with a mean of 2.3 and a median of 2. So most teachers are going to fall into the satisfied range, and standard deviation of 1, so it is also fairly consistent.
And here the response of very unsatisfied would be an outlier. There was only one response of very unsatisfied. No, there was 2 responses with very unsatisfied of the building, so that's seen in standard deviation. The average response is within 1 of satisfied, so either very satisfied or neutral. So the entire school cumulative frequency graph of the room, and this is all data taken from the Google survey overall projection of the results. The shape is still skewed to the right, so teachers are leaning or more satisfied than unsatisfied with the quality of their room. The mean is 2.5, so around satisfied to neutral for the average mean. Median gives us the average being satisfied. The standard deviation is 1, so again, teachers fall within 1 response of satisfied, so either very satisfied or neutral. Our Q1 is satisfied and our Q3 is neutral, so 75% of the data that we collected, 75% of teachers said they're satisfied or neutral.
So here we also asked them what building they would, if they could change their classroom, to what building would they choose to go to. We could hear that most Millbrook teachers would want to stay, which is a good thing. However, most teachers would choose to move to the 2nd floor and also to the 3rd floor. So it seems like the main building is winning the majority, which makes sense if they're the most renovated. When you look at the 100 building, nobody really wants to go there. I mean, it's not good, and this survey just kind of displays how undesirable the 100 building is for obvious reasons. The 200 building does have a good amount of responses, even more than the 3rd floor. But I mean, the 200 building isn't that bad. It's in a good location, and that's also understandable.
And a conclusion. So, teachers at Millbrook are generally satisfied with the building and rooms they currently occupy. They don't want to move, and the majority of them want to stay in the rooms, or if they were to move to the 2nd floor of the main building. So why do they want to move to the 2nd floor of the main building? Teachers theorize about why the responses were why they were. The 2nd floor of the main building is the 1st floor of the main building that is devoted to classrooms. The actual 1st floor of the main building contains mostly niche rooms such as the gym, dance studio, or drafting classrooms, which the teachers we were questioning couldn't occupy if you're a science teacher or a math teacher. The main building is the most recently renovated one, which we brought up, and it doesn't have a lot of the temperature problems the other buildings do, which was like a thing that teachers brought up when we were talking to them. Especially in the 100 building, if the teacher responded unsatisfied, they brought up temperature in some way. And possible sources of error. So the questions we created, we tried to put as little bias as possible into them, but we know we cannot have no bias. So one source of bias could come from the use of the word satisfied. Instead of asking, how do you feel about your room, we asked, how satisfied are you with your room or the location? And this subtly nudged them to answer more satisfied than less satisfied. Some responses were done quickly and without much thought, as the teacher was busy when we asked them, and they were a little unwilling to answer the survey. This may have led to more neutral responses, as they don't want to say one thing or the other, they're just going to put down neutral. We did not mathematically define our sample size, and we instead just chose the number 9, which could have not skewed our responses, but we wouldn't have had a statistically significant amount of data for the 200 building, which had 25 rooms in it. Yeah. All right.
So that's it.
Yes. 1, 2.